Week 3 in the National Football League featuring World of Matchups. Dexter Reed, Las Vegas, Nevada. Spencer the Wiz on the other side, my A1 from day one, and producer and co-founder of World of Matchups, bringing the heat from Pahrump. Week 2 was rough, you guys. We're going to try to do a little bit better for you. To this point, Spencer is 9-20. I'm 8-21. Last week was the worst week I've ever had handicapping since I started doing the show. The underdogs went crazy last week, Spencer. Holy cow.
Yeah, and a lot of them just like covered, it's hard to predict the first 2 weeks of football. These teams are still filling themselves out, and we've talked about this a lot, and the preseason really just is not what it used to be, like, at all. Like, it really used to be a time where guys got ready to play for the NFL season, and they figure it out during these extra weeks of football now. Like, I know that's not really like a great mentality to have, but it's like it's the reality of the situation for a lot of these teams. So we'll see if they regress to the mean. I mean, I feel more confident after seeing Thursday Night Football because, like, I've been very high in the Jets in the offseason. I've been very low in the Patriots, and the Patriots have way like played over the ceiling of what I thought I would see from them this year. But now you're starting to see, like, the adrenaline of the first 2 weeks, and that mentality teams have of, if we do the right things, anyone can win a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Those kind of feelings, I think, die as the NFL season goes along, and they start to see like the ceiling. There's another game tape, and you start figuring these teams out, and it gets a little bit more rigid. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that in week 3 than you've seen in week 1 and week 2, especially week 1. That's just a crapshoot.
Yeah, the cream's going to start rising to the top. These are basically glorified preseason games. You're still trying to find your footing. I mean, I can't chalk up for the life of me what happened last week. I felt so confident about all my picks. And by the second half of the slate, I had no wins. Like, none. I was absolutely floored. Thank God I didn't throw a bankroll on it. All right, to this week's slate. Let's get started. Who we got up first?
Yeah, we'll start with the Denver Broncos and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Hey, shout out to the Tampa Bay Bucks. We weren't saying that the Tampa Bay Bucks were going to get destroyed last week, but to go as far as to say that they were going to win that football game, that gives a lot of credit. I mean, Baker Mayfield, as early as in the season, so it doesn't really matter, but he could be the front runner for MVP at this current moment as we're talking right now. So he's not just playing game manager football right now; he is winning them football games, and that's pretty crazy for a team, for a guy who had been thrown away by multiple teams, and 2 teams that would probably be better off with him still to this day. And now he's like doing it for the Tampa Bay Bucks. I think you have to give a lot of credit actually to their franchise too. Very quickly. I mean, this is a team, most teams when they win a Super Bowl, especially with someone like Tom Brady who comes into town, changes everything up, does like everything how he wants it, and then leaves, it's usually like terrible for them. You saw that with the Buccaneers when they won the Super Bowl in 2003. They fell apart and they've done nothing since Tom Brady came, but they've like ridden the wave, and here they are again. Got a big win in Detroit, and now they're at home and they play the Denver Broncos, who, I mean, I'm like almost completely out on. I mean, I never liked them. I didn't let the preseason gas me up. It's one of the dumbest things you can ever do. Watch a preseason game, but like, they look really good. It's not real football at all. Okay, it's vanilla looks, and this whole Bo Nix thing, I'm like, I wasn't huge on him. And Sean Payton, of course, afterwards was sitting on the podium telling him how he, forced the Vikings to trade up for J.J. McCarthy, and he's playing 4D chess against the Raiders. And now suddenly they may be stuck with this kid for a while now. It's only 2 weeks, so it's not to say that his career is over or anything. But, man, 4 interceptions, no passing touchdowns through 2 weeks is not a good look. This kid does not look game ready. And I feel like they have this mentality of, he's 700 years old coming out of college. He'll be like a pseudo young veteran to come out and just lead the team to the playoffs. It's like they forgot that they don't have a good rest of the team, or he may not be very good either. So you combine both of those things, and you just have a pompous Sean Payton who's just sitting on his hands. He'll never admit it because that's just kind of the guy that he is. He's an arrogant a-hole. And I think they're going to get beat again. It's a 6-point spread. I'm not afraid because this is not a good team. Now, the Steelers let them hang around, but the Steelers' offense is terrible. I mean, it's just so anemic. And the Buccaneers' offense is not anemic at all. Buccaneers' defense played great last week. A couple of picks on Goff. If that stays true, what does that mean for Bo Nix in this game in Tampa Bay? It could get ugly really fast for them. This is on my teaser ticket, and it could be my best bet. I may circle back around to it, but Yeah, this is not a good look for the Denver Broncos, who could very easily go down 0-3, and they probably will.
Yeah, they're not good. And it just goes to show you that this is not college, Bo Nix. Bo Nix is great at Oregon. The NFL is a grown man's game. This is completely different. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are home, coming off a huge win. Baker Mayfield has absolutely found a home there, brimming with confidence. Todd Bowles right now is coach of the year, number one in the running. They look fantastic. I mean, they have great pieces. Mike Evans is steady Eddie. They moved Chris Godwin back to the slot, which has really proved to be a fantastic move for them. He looks fantastic. I mean, he looks really, really good. He's taken a huge step forward in the later stages of his career here. They have Rashad White, whose yard per carry is not great, but he can still catch the ball out of the backfield. Sprinkle in Kate Otten, and they bring in Bucky Irving for insurance. Shout out Dan O'Brien, member and president of the Bucky Irving fan club. And here we go. Fire the cannons at home -6. I'm not scared either. I'm not sold on anything that Denver's putting down, and this is literally a throwaway year. To me, Sean Payton's a get-fired candidate, and I think they're not brimming with any kind of confidence going into this game at all. I think Denver's definitely going to finish dead last in the AFC West, and it is what it is. I think they kind of thought they pulled an okey doke on everybody else, and they ended up holding a bag. They're in big trouble.
Yeah, it does not look good for them. Let's jump over to the LA Chargers Steelers game. It's one that's a bit hard to call right now because Justin Herbert's status is a little bit up in the air. I was actually hoping I could maybe look it up really quick and see, but he's just been rocking back and forth.
You're not going to get anything. It's going to be, game time decision. That high ankle sprain has me lending him thinking he's not going to play. Things hang around forever, man.
I think regardless, I was on the Steelers from the very early part of this week. They were my best bet last week, so it's nice that if I got 4 wins, at least I picked one of them. That happened to be my best bet, and I think you're going to see the same thing here. I still, to this day, I mean, maybe I'll just be wrong and they'll just win games throughout the entire season, but I just don't think the Chargers are a very good football team. Justin Herbert hasn't thrown for over 150 yards in a single game this season, and they just kind of pick it in spots. But you're playing against, a top defense here in the Pittsburgh Steelers, if not the number one defense in the entire NFL. One of them, maybe top 3 if you want to be exact. So if I combine that together against a Chargers team that can't really move the ball, you have a really good run stuffer, defensive line. If they can't run the ball, they're doing absolutely nothing. The Raiders had their number in week 1, and the Raiders gave that game away to them. They played the absolute worst team in the NFL by far in week 2. So now I think everyone's kind of gassed on them. They're 2-0 with Harbaugh. I think they get their first little, taste of what playing real talent and a good team is going to be this week, because I think they're going to hit their ceiling super hard, and I could see them kind of crashing out for a few weeks here in the middle of the season.
Yeah, I really love the Steelers here, man. I think the Chargers to this point have been smoke and mirrors. I mean, they haven't played anybody good. I mean, I know they beat the Raiders. Whatever. You know what I mean? And the Panthers are garbage. The resurgence of J.K. Dobbins has got everybody feeling themselves. But, kind of what you were alluding to early on in the podcast, the cream is going to start rising to the top here, man. And I don't think that, Coach Harbaugh can continue winning this way, because you're going to start playing teams with better defenses than you, and you're going to start playing teams that can score more points than you. Culminate that with a high ankle sprain for Justin Herbert, who it sounds like he's going to sit, man. There is just, Coach right now is just deciding between Taylor Heineke and Easton Stick. It sounds like what it's going to be. You're flying across the country. You're going to Pittsburgh's home opener. Pittsburgh has won 2 games ugly as well. I mean, it's bet the under, guys. Just bet the under. This is going to be 9-7 barn burner, and the coach is going to shake the other coach's hand and say sorry for running it up. It's going to be so stupid. The Steelers -3 all day. Dude, the Steelers defense is going to absolutely eat tomorrow. To me, this is an easy W. I mean, I'd be shocked if the Chargers stay in this game, because they're dealing with backups. Now, if Justin Herbert plays, I think it spells doom for them even more. Because why would you risk having your franchise quarterback now be out for multiple weeks? Guys, those high ankle sprains, they don't just go away. 6, 7, 8 week timelines. Remember when Patrick Mahomes got his in the playoffs, man? There's not enough tape in the world to fix that ankle. You're hurt. And so I'd be shocked if they roll them out there. I don't think it matters what backup starts. Pittsburgh's home opener is going to be a bloodbath. Take them and take them with confidence.
Yeah, that line is fluctuated. I think it's at -3 at the moment. I'm
I
sure because
got
a
them
lot of
at
people are.
-3.
Yeah. So let's jump over to one of the grossest games of the week, especially after seeing last week, the Packers and Titans. I believe the Titans are -3 favorites. I mean, yeah, they are at home. They are 0-2. God, that that Colts performance last week like took my soul out of me. I mean, it's just crazy how bad the Colts played. I mean, I did say during last week though that playing in Lambeau is it's one of the best home field advantages in the entire NFL. It's just crazy there. And it's hard to go in there and win. And Malik Willis wasn't good, but he did just enough, you know. I just can't see them. Maybe he'll have another decent performance. And the Titans, man, are no strangers, or should I say more specifically, Will Levis is no strangers to literally giving the game up, like in a very literal fashion. Not like through his overall play. He will make plays that are so bad it will like legitimately lose them football games.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Josh Allen, like but less smart, and that doesn't even seem possible. You know, there's something wrong with this guy. Like you just don't give. I don't know. I was so sick watching that. Like watching the Titans, just like I can't imagine what being a fan like that for them right now is. It must be the most gut wrenching thing to watch every week. You're just holding your breath every time this guy moves. He makes great throws, and then suddenly he'll just flick the ball to the defense in the worst possible moment. It's like amazing. It's actually kind of a phenomenon. But they're 0-2. There's going to be a lot of juice. They're at home. Malik Willis is not good, and I feel like that little mystery jump that you get off of like having a new quarterback. There's no tape on him. You can just slip through the cracks a little bit. But now there's a full weekend. There's no way this Titans team isn't going to be as pumped up as humanly possible for this game. But so I'll take the Titans. I'm definitely not taking them with confidence, and I would never touch this on a teaser ticket. But I do lean towards them to win this game.
Yeah, I'm done with the Tennessee Titans. Until I see Will Levis put forth a good performance, I'm not going to bet them again. They've burned me the first 2 weeks, and so I'm done with them. There's an outside chance here that Jordan Love plays as well, guys. Don't be surprised if he suits up. He's practiced in a limited fashion most of the week and towards the later half of the week. And so unleash Josh Jacobs just like they did last week. I think they should have really no problem at least staying in the game. I mean, they have weapons everywhere, man. Jaden Reed is explosive. The Titans just don't do it for me, man. You know what I mean? It's like, I really want Will Levis to be good. He was my number one quarterback this year, going into this year to break out, and he's just not been good. You know, Calvin Ridley's going to be on their top corner, Jair Alexander. That's going to be a tough ask. DeAndre Hopkins is washed. I do like Tony Pollard, but, don't sleep on Green Bay's defense. It's decent. It's decent. And they win games away from home. They can. They know how to do it. Matt LaFleur is a much better coach than anything they have on the other side. And that offensive line in Tennessee is still young, man. Skronsky, these guys are young. I'm just not sold. I really wanted Tennessee to look good to this point, and they just haven't, man. And so for that reason, I'm going to take the Packers. I'm not going to take the Packers plus a lot of confidence with it, but you're going to give me 3 points versus an 0-2 team that you're clearly better than. I'm not sold on Tennessee, man. Packers all day, every day, and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll jump over to the Raiders game. We're favored by 6. Yeah, it's such a Raiders season, It's already starting that way through 2 weeks. It's already the definitive, like, they're gonna win 8 games this year, and they're gonna look back at games like the Chargers, and they're gonna say, "How the heck did we lose that game?" But at the same time, they went into Baltimore last week, had an incredible performance in the second half, and they won the game. I mean, it's just so. I mean, okay, I will say this though, to give a little bit of credit to the Raiders, because going into the season, I thought they were a 9-win team, and when I saw Week 1, I'm like, this isn't the team that I feel like I was looking at or previewing. It looked completely different. It's a new offensive coordinator. It's a new quarterback. Those things matter, and it can be hard to kind of piece it together. I actually like Luke Getsy, like so far from what I've seen. Like, no one likes their offensive coordinator. I feel everyone hates them, like every other NFL team. But he made some really great second half adjustments. He was doing a lot of this behind the line of scrimmage garbage, passing the ball, never does anything. I hate behind the line of scrimmage football. It just doesn't seem to ever work, and I feel like it never will. I'd rather just run the football at that point. But once they started to push the ball down the field, because here's the reality, and they finally realized this: Devontae Adams is unguardable, and Brock Bowers is unguardable. So what are you throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage for? Like, send those guys out. And if the Raiders can just keep up that momentum, they're going to be a hard team to stop because Brock Bowers is a legitimate like mismatch against most players in the NFL. That's how good this kid is. People said he was a generational talent. They weren't lying. This guy is a wide receiver in a tight end's body, and they can put him anywhere. It doesn't matter. At the tight end position, they can throw him in the slot position. They can throw him outside. I mean, this guy has a very unique set of skills. And then suddenly, when this guy's open every play, Devontae Adams is equally. And that just causes a lot of chaos. So I saw in the second half what I thought you could see out of the Raiders this year. How consistent that's going to be, I don't know. I mean, Gardner Minshew has certainly picked things up a little bit, which is understandable. I mean, I think I was a little bit too hot to come out of the gun. Like this kid was just going to come in on a new organization and just fire on all cylinders. That's hard to do that in the NFL, if not near impossible, especially in an offseason where I feel like they, in retrospect, wasted a lot of time saying like who's going to be the starting quarterback when Gardner Minshew was clearly better, I think, from the get-go. Aiden O'Connell is just not very good, in my opinion. I saw it last year. I saw everything that I needed to. I think the kid is nice. I think he's a great backup quarterback in case your quarterback goes down. But they should have just said, we signed Gardner Minshew to come into the team and start. It's crazy to think Aiden O'Connell is going to take this insane leap and suddenly be the starting quarterback, because a full offseason may have given the Raiders a win against the Chargers because they just looked rusty and terrible in that game. Those 2 turnovers were just awful. So now they play the Panthers. They're at home. I mean, this is an easy one. I mean, or at least it should be, but these are the games that the Raiders lose throughout team history. I mean, consistently. We always see them play down to their competition, but I will say this is Antonio Pierce's time to, like, I wouldn't say change my mind because I actually really, really like Antonio Pierce, but it's time to see if he's more than just a rah-rah coach.
Mm-hmm.
Because a good head coach is going to be like, you know what, this is a game that the Raiders lose every year. It's disgusting. The Baker Mayfield Rams games, stuff like I can go down the list forever. All the torturous losses. This is they're a much better football team, obviously, than the Carolina Panthers. They need to go home and take care of business. If they do, I'm starting to feel a lot more excited about this Raiders team because they have a great defense. And if they can just click on the offense, they can score 27 points. This team is going to start racking up wins pretty quick here. If you go down, they play the Browns next week and then the Broncos. They play, the Dolphins in the middle of the right after those like set of games. And suddenly this is like a really dangerous looking Raiders team. But I have to say it. This is the biggest roadblock, which is crazy to say against the Panthers, but this is a roadblock for the mentality of the Raiders stink on their organization right here. I'm so excited for this game. We'll just have to see. I'm going to be holding my breath almost the entire time.
Taking the Raiders minus the 6, I take.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so am I. This is the type of game in the past that the Raiders would come home and lose after having such a humongous win in Baltimore, and that was the biggest win on the slate last week. I told you when we sat here and did our NFL draft, I was like, you guys who are being upset about Brock Bowers going to the Raiders, you're out of your minds. You guys don't understand football. Dude, Brock Bowers is the next George Kittle. I don't know how many times I have to say it. He's the biggest mismatch on most NFL fields right now. I don't understand why you guys are so upset. This guy could literally by himself lead you to a playoff appearance. Like, I don't get it, and so all you guys have to do is not blow this game versus a horrendous Carolina team flying 3,000 miles across the country in your home opener. This is my best bet. I don't understand how anyone could think that the Carolina Panthers, with old-ass Andy Dalton, have a shot at winning this game. Now, kudos to the Panthers for finally saying enough is enough with Bryce Young. Bryce Young was the de facto wrong pick. Go back and look at any world of matchups that I talked about this. I said this years ago. I'm like, you guys passing on C.J. Stroud, you are out of your minds. Do not let the other people in the world make decisions for you. do what you know in your heart was right. And they knew taking C.J. Stroud was right, and they listened to everybody tell them Bryce Young was the pick. And look at them now. The guy hasn't even played 15 games, and he's been benched already. So you're going to tell me a 36-year-old turnover machine with a bad offensive line, a bad run game, and a meh wide receiver core and no tight end is going to fly across the country and take on a piss and vinegar filled Raider team at home in their home opener and not get and win the game. If the Raiders don't cover this 6, I will never bet the Raiders again. I'm telling you, this is a spot where I don't want to hear another word. I don't want to hear another word about the Raiders being good. If they somehow lose this game, forget it. It's done. Okay? This is done because you have a clear path here to like 6 or 7 wins now. But you must get this win first. This is my best bet. Allegiant's going to be rocking. The Panthers are absolutely horrendous, and Dave Canales is over his head. Best bet from World of Matchups. The Raiders.
We will see. I'm so nervous, but they should just dominate this game. I believe in Antonio.
This is the Zamir White game also.
Yeah, they have not run the ball at all.
Really quickly, guys. This is the Zamir White game. For all you guys out there that are like ready to give up on Zamir White not getting fed, it's a management problem. This is Antonio Pierce. I don't know what you're doing. Feed this beast.
We will see. I feel like that's a good week to do it. Let's jump over to the Browns and Giants game. This is a stink fest, man. The Browns are terrible. This is just a bad football team. Deshaun Watson is awful, and I'm here for it. I cheer for his downfall every week of the NFL season. And they won last week, but that's by de facto. The Jacksonville Jaguars are a steaming pile of garbage. We've been saying this for years now. Trevor Lawrence is not that good, and it doesn't matter how much money you pay him. It doesn't make him better. And you just see it. Like, you get to see it every week. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop. It never will. This guy is just an okay quarterback, and he'll never be better than that. It's just a fact of the matter. And they've hit a ceiling. I don't know what they're going to do. They just gave the guy $1 gazillion. They gave him all the weapons he could ever ask for, and he can't get it done. It's unbelievable. But yeah, you also have a terrible, like, looking at this game now, you also have like an awful Giants team. Just terrible.
So bad.
They're in a barn burner against the Washington Commanders last week, and it was like 6 field goals, I think, from the Washington Commanders, and that was enough to win the game. So the Browns defense is definitely good enough to where Daniel Jones is he's gonna lose them the game. I mean, just straight up. This is a 6.5 point spread. Yeah. Daniel Jones is good enough for a pick 6. Like, I genuinely believe that he will get them over that half point, I believe. Because he literally just can't do it. Like, there's nothing in the tank left for him anymore, and he'll be done there soon. He may be benched before the end of the season goes off. It wouldn't surprise me. They'll probably go to Danny DeVito, and it's just a dumpster fire. And that's just the New York Giants. That's how they run their organization post Eli Manning. They just have never gotten it together for 1 year. And you're seeing that. And the Browns are at home. They had a big-time stinker against Dallas in that home opener. So they're going to want to just get fired up to win in Cleveland now. And that's what's going to happen here. I feel fairly confident, even though I hate Deshaun Watson and I think he's terrible. He just so happens in this week to be playing the other just absolute worst quarterback in the NFL. Like, so bad, it'll lose them the game.
Yeah, I mean, the Browns are horrible, but the Giants are twice as horrible as Browns. And Deshaun Watson is absolutely a steaming hot pile of dog crap. But Daniel Jones is a freaking sewer. I mean, it's like picking between herpes and chlamydia. I mean, these two teams are so bad. They are so anemic. I mean, I'm taking the Browns minus the 6.5 for 2 reasons. 1, they're home. 2, they have the better defense. I mean, the Giants have made 2 decisions post Eli Manning that have doomed their franchise for the next decade. They didn't pay Saquon, and they paid Daniel Jones. I mean, why? How does Daniel Jones have a nickname? Who's Danny Dimes? Where's that guy? It's more like Danny Pennies, Danny Food Stamps. Like, this guy, like, are you kidding me? To be this bad and have a nickname in the National Football League is absolutely egregious. I think he should be gone. They should cut their losses with Daniel Jones. They should have taken Michael Penix Jr. They really should have. And they're going to regret this. I mean, poor Malik Neighbors. I mean, I guess Neighbors will have a good season because they just have nobody else. But if they double Neighbors, how are they going to lose this game, man? Take the Browns minus the 6.5 and take them with confidence. Me even wasting my breath talking about the Giants is just making me more tired. I'm not going to do it anymore. And like Will Levis, I want Daniel Jones to be good. I like a guy that can go out and make everybody see, no, I was worth it, shut everybody up. And just the more I want it is the less it happens. Browns minus 6.5 in a dog pound with ease. Next.
Yeah, this is the tough game to call right here. These some of these games are real rough. It's the Colts and the Chicago Bears. Wow, the Colts are favored by a point in this game, and wow, these are two teams that are well not lived up to what people's expectations were. I wasn't super high on the Bears to start the season, just because I knew they had a very good defense, but I needed to see it from Caleb Williams before I'm starting. People are saying they're going to win the division. He's going to pass for 5,000 yards.
Going to the
I'm like,
Super Bowl.
wait a second here. Just because you have good, their offensive line is a steaming pile of garbage.
The Bears suck, dude.
And I knew that going into the season. You can have Calvin
horrible.
Johnson and Randy Moss on opposite sides of the field. If you don't have time to pass the ball, it doesn't matter who's running routes for them. And they have all the talent offensively they could ever want at the wide receiver position. But this kid, there were a couple things that I really didn't like. And I'm not saying I'm out on Caleb Williams, and that's too extreme. I'm not going to go that far. But I'm saying, like, there were going to be struggles, I thought, in this season for him. And you're seeing it. He bails really quick on the pocket, and it's cool to look at in the preseason, but you're talking about an NFL game. It's a totally different speed. You just have less space to operate because these guys who are backups have no idea how to properly collapse the pocket. And he starts to get hot feet. He also isn't protected. So you're talking about the worst trait of his that he had coming out of college, in my opinion, is like pocket bailing, whatever you want to call it. Plus, you have a terrible offensive line. It's a bad recipe for them right now. They can't score. And it's not going to get any easier for them against the Colts. But the other side of this that's really hard to predict is the Colts, man. That's like one of the worst performances I've ever seen last week. I mean, in Lambeau, Anthony Richardson, who you and I were both never super high on. I love him for fantasy because he runs like the wind. But in terms of being a successful quarterback, Anthony Richardson this is who I thought he was. Everyone was ready to crown this guy as like a top 10 quarterback. I'm like, you've seen 4 games out of him, and he played okay in those 4 games. Like, when is suddenly this guy going to be like the number 1 quarterback in the NFL? I think that's crazy. And he kind of showed it last week. He looked like as bad as you can get. I mean, it was just a very terrible performance from him. The 3rd interception, obviously, is just a Hail Mary, so who cares? But 2 interceptions, they were terrible. They couldn't move the ball down the field. I know the Packers have a good defense. I know they're at, in Lambeau, but geez, like they really like over exaggerated on how bad they could perform in that situation. They need a big bounce back game, and I don't know if they're going to get it. The Bears defense is really that good. So it's like the Colts should win this game, but are they going to be able to get down the field? Are they going to be able to not turn the ball over? This is easily for me. I have no idea what's going to happen. It's a coin flip, and I'm pretty sure the line is like -1, so it's very indicative of that. I guess I'll take the Colts, but man, I really don't know because Anthony Richardson cannot play that bad and expect them to win any football games like at all.
Yeah, for sure. I'm taking the Colts minus the 1 at home just to win. I don't think they can play any worse than they played last week. I do think that they are a better team than the Bears. I think everybody who was crowning the Bears like the next Super Bowl champion is now starting to see, like, yeah, they had a nice draft, and yeah, they brought in some decent pieces, but like, you got to still bake the pizza. And you alluded to it in, your breakdown and your assessment that offensive line is hot garbage. Hot garbage. They've already taken 7 sacks. I mean, Caleb Williams is getting hit like every other play. And he's taking hits, legitimate hits. So I don't care how much talent you have. If you don't have time to process, you can't get the ball out. And you can't get the ball downfield. And you can't run and you can't win. They don't use Swift properly. The guy is always on the side. What are you bringing in Khalil Herbert for, man? You brought in DeAndre Swift to do the same thing that you've seen him do in other teams. And you hardly run the guy. The Eagles did the same thing. Guys, send Swift to Kansas City, please, so we can use him properly. I mean, this is ridiculous. Their defense is filled with monsters. But if you can't score, you can't win. The best bet in this game, guys, is the under. Quite frankly, everyone crowning Anthony Richardson the next Cam Newton. Pump the brakes, guys. The guy's passing ability is absolutely horrendous. I mean, yeah, Alec Pierce makes him look good because he just throws it up, but like intermediate routes, short passes. I mean, it's like Cam Newton meet Lamar Jackson, and then the Kroger version of those two. That's what Anthony Richardson is. I'm not sold. The Colts do have some major pieces out, so if they can ever get the ball out, they'd be in some trouble here. You know what I mean? If Chicago can actually get the ball out to their stars, because DJ Moore should have a big game, but Jonathan Taylor is going to be the X factor in this game. He's going to be the biggest weapon on the field, and they're going to run to win. I think that this is going to be a very low-scoring affair. I think there's going to be a lot of mistakes made in this game. It's going to be sloppy football because these are two teams trying to figure it out on the big stage when you should have figured it out already, quite frankly. The Bears are in trouble, man. They're not good. They're not good. Their defense is good. Their defense is good. Their offense is horrendous, man. I watched that whole Sunday night football game. Caleb Williams was running for his life. His life. Welcome to the NFL, son. This ain't USC. And the biggest knock I had on him when he was in college is versus better competition. He was Casper the Friendly Ghost. Go build this guy a line, guys, because they're starting to look like Patrick, Mahomes versus Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. It's that bad. Okay? You guys are in big trouble. Figure it out. Colts -1 is the play.
All right, let's jump over to this Texans-Minnesota game. And I'll say that I think these first 2 weeks have proven that Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell is one of the best coaches in the league in terms of just working with what he's got. He has a great offensive mind. I mean, I will say this, though, like in retrospect, talking about Sam Darnold, the Jets are terrible, right? They haven't had it together until like last Thursday, essentially. They made the worst decisions. They gave him nothing. He never had someone like Garrett Wilson. He never had anyone protecting him. Is he ever going to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? No, but he was much better than he ever got an opportunity to showcase in the NFL. And I think you're seeing it. And I have to change my predictions on the Vikings a little bit. I thought they'd be one of the worst teams in the NFL. Now, do I think they're just going to keep going in and winning all these games and be like a playoff contender? No, I wouldn't go that far. I think certainly they're going to start regressing to the mean at some point. But you have to give a lot of credit to the head coach and especially Sam Darnold because he's playing for his life. This is his last opportunity to continue on either as a starting quarterback or to be a backup for the next 10 years, which some of these guys do,
Sam Darnold was better than Daniel Jones.
Oh, that's for sure. It's not even close at this point. I mean, that was a 50-yard bomb he threw to Jettas last week, and that was a great throw by him. And, one of my favorite bets last week was the 49ers against the Vikings, and the Vikings showed up. I mean, they would have blown them out even worse, not for a terrible fumble on the goal line. So he could have dropped another touchdown in the stat book for Sam Darnold in that game. I mean, he was really good. I still think, and I'm going to go for the Texans here. I'm not sure what the line is. I have to check really quickly.
Vikings are getting 2 at home.
Yeah, see, geez. That's how high people are. I'm going to still go with the Texans. I think the Texans are contenders, and I think you'll see the Vikings be like, okay, well, maybe they are a little bit closer to who we thought they were, at the start of the season. But still, I mean, I do want to give them a lot of credit. This is just a really tough spot for them. I feel like they're going to be running on the high of beating the 49ers, thinking that, they're all that in a bag of chips. And then suddenly they play a real playoff contender here at full power, and it's not going to go as well for them. But, hey, they win this game against the Texans, a real conversation. We got to stop what we're doing and have a conversation about the Minnesota Vikings and relook at everybody on the team and our opinions on them.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to take the Purple People Leaders plus the 2 here, and I'm going to tell you why. Joe Mixon is doubtful. And a lot of what they do so far this year really comes right off the run. I mean, he had 30 carries opening day. I mean, they run the ball a lot. You don't think they do because they have all these weapons, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Dalton Schultz. But if you look at the formula for what they're trying to do, it's run the ball first, man. And so I do think that when you have Jets on the field, even a gimpy Jets, that can really change the dynamic of what you're trying to do in Minnesota because you always have that best weapon on the field. I mean, they took apart the San Francisco 49ers, and the Niners are better than the Houston Texans at full strength, and the Texans are at 85% right now. I don't trust Cam Akers. I don't trust Dare Ungo, blah, 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 whatever his name is. Look, they're going to get TJ Hawkinson back too after the bye. Sam Darnold is playing for his career, and he's playing well. If their defense can just bend and not break, just hold Nico Collins down. Let Diggs eat underneath, but hold Nico down. I have a funny feeling they're going to cover this too, man. I'm going to take a shot here. I've always been the one that says home dogs pay dividends, and so I'm going to pray that's true here. And I'm going to get on the Purple People Leader train hype here. I think that this is what you like to call a classic trap game. I know that Houston is very good. I like Houston. To me, they're the biggest threat to the Chiefs right now in my mind, just because you have CJ on a rookie contract. But this is the type of game where they're just going to expect to go in there and demolish them. And the offensive line is a lot better in Minnesota than what you saw Sunday Night Football in Chicago. And a slept-on piece that they have in that backfield is Ty Chandler. Dude, Ty Chandler's a baller. Ty Chandler should be starting over Aaron Jones. He should be starting. I'm telling you. Ty Chandler is a very, very, very poor man's like Saquon because he can catch the ball too, and he's a bigger back. He's a bruiser. He's a goal line back. He's got soft hands. They have to start realizing this and give this kid more run. Go look at some of his film from last week, Spencer. He out-touched AJ. They can win this game, but I do think they'll lose, but I think they'll cover the two at home. I like the Vikings with confidence too, man. I like them a lot here. That home field advantage is real in Minnesota. Their fans will show up.
All right. Yeah, let's jump over to, one of the hardest games to predict too here. Something's got to give. Now, Nick Sirianni, man, that guy's got rocks for brains. He's not a good head coach. I'm sorry. I just don't believe that at all.
I agree.
What a terrible decision last week to cost you a win in the NFL. Those are not handed out freely, and he really did give it out for free there in a way.
He sucks, dude. Let's be honest.
He's just not very good. So now you have a Saints team who looks unstoppable. You know, Clint Kubiak is like already shooting up the board for candidates for head coach next year. I don't know, man. Is the Saints real? Are they really that good? Are they just going to go down and win 13, 12 games this year? Maybe, but
no,
I could see them hitting a wall. I mean, I feel like this is fool's gold a little bit, and maybe
it is.
That's just me being a hater or something. But something deep inside tells me that they're not going to just score on every drive in the season. You know, it's not Alvin Kamara is not going to be MVP. Derek Carr is going to throw some bad picks. You know. I don't think anything has changed that much this year. I think as more game tape comes out and people are seeing what they're doing, it's just not going to work out for them. I know the Saints are at home, and this is such a tough call. And it looks like they're favored by 2.5. I'm going to take the plus 2.5. I mean, there is no A.J. Brown. This is tough, man. I mean, the Saints are really good at home. I almost want to take them, but I also could just see Derek Carr throwing up that historic stinker, man, where he has a great week. You think they're going to the Super Bowl, and then suddenly he has like the next worst week of football you've ever seen in your entire life. He's a statue, and they have a very good defensive line for the Eagles, and I think that could fare very badly for them. I could see like a bad interception from him in this game, and the Eagles winning. You know they're going to have a little extra juice after last week too. I mean that's the way they ended that game is just that's the kind of loss that ruins your entire week. You know, as a fan, like you just it carries with you until you see them suit up on Sunday again, so you can wash it out of your mouth. They had that game from start to finish. So while I don't feel super confident about this, I'll take the plus 2.5. I think that's nice to have a little extra plus points here. The Eagles should win this game if the Saints are who I think they were.
I agree. I 1,000% agree. I think Nick Sirianni is the most overrated coach in the National Football League, and if this team doesn't at least go to the Super Bowl, he should be replaced. He should be fired.
Yeah.
He is the benefit of just amazing talent, But he makes some of the most boneheaded decisions I've ever seen in my life. I mean, losing to Atlanta at home on Monday Night Football is inexcusable, with or without AJ Brown. Period. End of statement. Now, I'm not sold on the Saints at all. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm just not. You have played who? Everyone beats Carolina by 47 points. And Dallas is the most overrated team in the NFL. Okay, their defensive coordinator is using guys who are ball hawks and trying to play them as man cover corners. So that's on Dallas. Now, Derek Carr threw the best ball I've seen him throw his entire career last week. His entire career. Someone should drug test him after that throw. It was perfect. There was nothing that he could have done better. But I'm still not believing the hype because the Saints are not good. I'm not here to believe that Alvin Kamara has found a fountain of youth. I'm not buying any of it. I'm not buying any of it. I'm sorry. Beat the Eagles this week convincingly, and now you will have my confidence moving into next week. But the Eagles are a desperate team now that cannot afford to go 1-2 after a bad loss on Monday night in front of the world. I don't care if A.J. Brown's not playing. There's enough talent on this team, especially on this defensive line, to destroy the Saints anywhere. Anywhere. And so the addition of Saquon Barkley should be the difference maker. He should eat. Jalen Hurts needs to play better. I know he's played well, but he needs to play better. People have him in an upper echelon, top 3-4 quarterbacks in the league. He's played okay. He hasn't played better. The problem with the Eagles is their defense has been anemic. For all the studs that they have, where are they? Where are all these? Where's Jordan Davis? Where's Nakobe Dean? Where are these guys? These guys were guys that were falling into the laps of Howie Roseman, and none of them have produced, really. They really haven't, and it's time to put up or shut up. This is a big game for the Eagles, and I don't think they can afford to lose it. I really don't. And so I think they destroy the Saints here. I don't think the Saints are very good at all. I think this has been smoke and mirrors. Don't get gassed, and then you're going to give me 2.5. If Jalen Hurts has to win the game by himself, so be it. But Devonta Smith and Saquon Barkley should be enough. And mix in Dallas Goedert, please. You guys good. You just don't use him. You know what I mean? You have a perfectly wonderful meal in your oven, but you're going to go get takeout. Eat the meal. Eat the meal. Eagles plus 2.5. Let's roll.
All right, let's shift our way towards the afternoon games here. So we have first is the Dolphins and Seahawks. This is going to be, you know what? I'm not afraid. This is my best bet.
Let's go.
Love the Seattle Seahawks, man. I mean, I'm
too.
not a fan of them in terms of like Super Bowl contention, but I think Skylar Thompson is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. Why they have waited around to get a backup quarterback against Tua, who his brain is made of Play-Doh, and they don't have anyone behind him. And they've been rolling this guy out for 3 years now. He plays in these spots. He never looks good in any of them ever. He looks terrible, and they just keep him back there. It really is kind of baffling to me. And so now you got the Seahawks at home. So it's one of the better home field advantages. Maybe not what it used to be, but it's still one of the best home field advantages in the entire NFL. I'm only getting 4.5. They have to win by 5. I feel like I'm going to be eating lobster at the end of the day. This is kind of crazy to me. I think the Seahawks are going to catch their stride a little bit more and more. I'm not afraid of the Dolphins defense. I don't think there's any world beaters by any stretch of the imagination. And when I think about all these things together, I think the Dolphins are going to start plummeting, quite frankly. I don't know if Tua is going to come back this year. I feel like that's probably some secret news that will come out later. You can kind of get a read on these things. I mean, are they really going to roll back Tua at some point? I mean, especially, let's say they lose the next 3 weeks and suddenly they're 1-4 and he can come back. Are they going to just trot him out there to kill him? I mean, I know that's a terrible thing to say, but let's be honest. We've seen this guy have multiple seizures on a football field, and the last one wasn't that bad. So now you have a Dolphins team that is very thinly veiled. They win because they can score a gazillion points. And now you have a quarterback who can't facilitate them to score a gazillion points. Where does that leave this football team? In my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, in a terrible place, man. The Seahawks should absolutely blow them out of the water. It should be like a 30-15 or something. I mean, I don't know how Skylar. I cannot see a world where Skylar Thompson has 3 touchdowns
Me
going
either.
into Seattle. I don't care what kind of weapons are around him. He can't get them the ball. I mean, he's good for a bad interception or 2 as well. I mean, I don't think experience is going to be the difference in this guy suddenly being so good this year from what I've seen him play on the field. And Seattle, they're tough. They're a tough team. They play hard. They're going to be pumped up for this one. They should absolutely just come in and just walk all over the Dolphins. This should be an easy victory for them.
Dolphins getting destroyed tomorrow. Destroyed. Tyler Huntley should be the starting quarterback. Skylar Thompson is a freaking grocery store clerk. Stop. You're going to fly across the country 3,000 miles to the 12th man. You're going to get your doors blown off. Now, I know Kenneth Walker is out, but Zach Charbonnet is probably one of the best backup running backs in the league, quietly. This kid's a stud, man. Go look at his tape from college. Charbonnet is good. It's Charbonnet season right now. I think Walker might be out for a while. But the bottom line is that Geno Smith is one of the best underrated quarterbacks in the entire NFL. And what Ryan Grubb has done with this offense, opening things up for DK Metcalf, JSN, and Tyler Lockett. Dude, look, Jalen Ramsey can't be everywhere. And he's not that good anymore anyway. They're going to destroy this team. This is really a good one for a best bet here. I like Seattle big in this game. Their defense is underrated. Woolen, Witherspoon, those boys are dogs. Dude, they're not far away from being a 12th man again either. Well, that's another conversation we need to have. I mean, Seattle is on their way back. They look good. Sprinkle in some Fant. I'm telling you right now, they should roll this team. They should be able to score 27 to 30 points on this team, and their defense should be able to hold Miami to at least 7 to 10. Give Tyreek his, ancillary touchdown in the fourth quarter that means absolutely nothing, and move on. Tua is actually going to this game, which is mind-blowing to me. He's flying to Seattle with the team. Dude, take some time off, man. Take the 4-week IR. Talk to some doctors, counsel with God and your family. Relax. Why are you flying? Why are you even getting on a plane, bro? Dude, this whole thing smells bad to me, and I think they get absolutely destroyed. If it wasn't for the Raiders, man, this would be my best bet as well. Seattle at home is always good, and I just don't trust Miami anywhere the sun is not shining. Next.
Yeah, let's talk about the Cardinals and Lions. Hey, I think one of our best calls last week was everyone was freaking out on Marvin Harrison Jr., and we're like,
guy's a stud.
He's a stud. This kid is unbelievable. He's one of the best talents to come out of the draft in a long time. This guy is
best
unreal.
Wide receiver in football in 5 years. He's a stud. Stop.
Had like 100 and I think like almost 150 and 2 touchdowns at halftime in this game. I mean, he was unstoppable. And that's what we saw. I mean, this guy is unreal. He's so good. Unbelievable talent in the NFL. And him and Kyler Murray. That's the one thing about Kyler Murray that I do like is when he has a good player on his team who like is playing very well, he will just find them no matter what. He will go to them whenever he possibly can. He will feed them the rock as a quarterback. And that's what you saw in that game. The Rams, I have to change my opinion on them a little bit, but also their team is falling apart. I guess they were held together by like gum and like paper clips, basically. Yeah, duct tape. And you're seeing it. They're just completely collapsing. I mean, injuries everywhere. But in any case, we'll talk about the Rams. So this is a tough game because the Lions got shellacked at home against the Buccaneers. So it's hard to figure out, like, are the Buccaneers really that good? Because if they are, they're Super Bowl contenders straight up, right? I mean, there's no way to deny it. You got Detroit, who people say is like one of the best home fields in all of football now. And the Buccaneers went in there and they took care of business. Like, they really kind of controlled that entire game, which is unbelievable.
They controlled
the whole game. You have a Cardinals team that played really good against the Rams. So we'll see how bad the Rams are. I guess that's the barometer for how excited you should be about the Cardinals. But you and I really like the Cardinals. So going into the year, we were so high in them, like way higher than most teams. Love their over. And I think you're seeing it now. Yeah. So they're at home. They play the Lions. Like, I feel like you're supposed to take the Lions, but Something about it, man. I've been saying I'm high in the Cardinals, and I always pick against them to start the season. Although I guess last week I did take the Cardinals, so I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna roll it over again. I'm gonna press my luck. I know the Lions are great, but I don't know. If they lose this game, suddenly the whole "this is the Lions" starts to creep up a little bit. Then everyone's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Wait a second, wait a second."
Mm-hmm.
Did they peak a little bit? I don't know. I'm not ready to go that far. I think this is more indicative of just how high I am in the Cardinals overall. Kyler Murray's a very good quarterback. There's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of controversy over him for a few years over the whole Call of Duty thing and not studying, but at the end of the day, when the kid suits up on Sunday and he's healthy, he's a damn good quarterback, and no one in the entire world can deny that from him. He played out of his mind last week, and I could see them playing out of their mind again at home. And now, if this was in Detroit, I'd feel different, but it's not. They're in Arizona. They're going to play really well. It looks like they're clicking on all cylinders on offense. Love all the weapons they have there. Connor is super good. Trey McBride is one of the best tight ends in the league. Now you have a wide receiver who might be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL very quickly. When you think about all those things, it's like it's less about like, oh, the Lions aren't good, and it's more about, hey, this Cardinal team is pretty damn good, and that's kind
Mm-hmm.
of my opinion. So we'll see it. I'm going to go out on a limb. Obviously, they're not favored, and the Lions should win that game, but we'll see. I think the Cardinals can give them a good game.
I think the Cardinals are going to win the game. I think the Cardinals are going to win the game. I'm very high on this team. I don't think you guys understand how good Marvin Harrison Jr. is and how much better he's going to get. Okay? The guy is a generational talent. And once they started funneling him the football, you saw it. Rams are a decent team. They're not great, but they're decent. They're decent enough to should have won that game, and they got destroyed. The game was never in question. From the opening whistle till the end, they got absolutely manhandled. James Conner is one of the most steady Eddie, underrated running backs in the entire NFL. As long as he's healthy, you know what they're going to get from him. He is the definition of a bell cow. Kyler Murray has gotten it together after the injury and some nonsense about Call of Duty and written things in his contract. What this team needed was MHJ. Trey McBride is almost an afterthought, and he's really, really good. He's really, really good. You really mean to tell me that Terrion Arnold and Brian Branch are going to be able to handle Marvin Harrison Jr. in this game? I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think, like the Eagles, this is must-win territory for Detroit, man. Detroit at 1-2. Amon-Ra's not 100%. I mean, the Arizona defense is their Achilles heel. If they're somehow fired up for this game and keep this game close, you guys know Jared Goff throws inopportune picks at the worst times. I could see it. I could absolutely see a world where he throws a pick late to lose the Lions the game here. And I like Goff. I like Goff a lot. But am I sold on J-Mo yet? I'm not sold on Jamison Williams of taking this humongous step yet. I'm just not. And where's Sam Laporta? Sam Laporta is on
MIA,
a
man.
dude. He's on a milk carton. You mean to tell me that all of a sudden he's just going to show up? I mean, I know they have weapons, but they also have Dan Campbell, who is known to make some of the most bonehead decisions I've ever seen in the National Football League. And I'm at home, and you're giving me points? Stop the madness. Arizona plus the points at home and eat a pizza. Let's go.
All right, let's talk about easily to me, the most interesting game of the week. Not because these teams are good, but because they're so bad, and it's time to figure out who is the worst of the bad teams. These are two teams with super high expectations going into the year, and they have not looked good thus far. The Cowboys beat the Browns, who I think stink, and then they go get shellacked by the Saints at home. That's so terrible. And then on the other side, you have a Ravens team that makes all these excuses. Oh, the Chiefs don't want to see us again. And then they go at home next week and they lose to Gardner Minshew and the Raiders in the second half. They couldn't guard Devontae Adams. They couldn't guard Brock Bowers. They couldn't
Ravens
do
are
anything.
frauds.
So now these two teams are in a bad. These two teams do not want to see each other right now because both these teams have all the pressure in the world to win this game. And if the Ravens go down 0-3,
Season's over.
Man, his seat is sizzling a little bit.
Season's over.
Awful. He had the worst called head coaching game I've ever seen against the Raiders last week. Two awful challenges. Just not even, dude. If I'm the head coach, I am never calling a challenge. Someone in my ear is going to tell me to throw the flag. This guy looks at it, he eyeballs it from across the sideline on the opposite side and goes, and from my point of view, it's like, dude, you are so dumb. Like, how can you possibly to let someone else look at the replay in the booth above? Don't eyeball a challenge. That's a timeout. And then he had a terrible timeout at the end of the game that ended up ruining the clock situation for them. Dude, in the modern NFL, the light is not shining on him all that great because he doesn't have a modern offensive mind. He's more of a game manager in the form of a coach, right? He's like the best of all time game manager as a coach. But now the NFL is getting more and more modern, and he's just stuck in these old ways. And I still don't see where Derrick Henry fits into what they're doing. I feel like it's a clash of design philosophy. You have a run first quarterback with a bowling ball for a running back, and you're in these awkward situations where Derrick Henry is in the shotgun. It looks unnatural. It is unnatural. This is a guy who needs forward momentum, not someone who's going to catch the ball in the backfield and churn it for 50 yards. So now you have to do these like very opposite things with the team. It killed them last week. It killed them. And then you have Lamar Jackson, who just doesn't look great. I'm sorry. Like, terrible interception last week against the Raiders that got them back into the game. It was the only reason they had a chance to get back in the game. And he does that consistently. I always think about back to the Steelers game last year. They were on the goal line to go up in the game, and he throws this like horrible fade route, interception, Joey Porter. And that's not an abnormal thing for him to do. So now they have to go into Dallas, which I don't know what that's worth now after seeing the Saints game last week, but normally a very tough place to win. But the Cowboys on the other side also look like garbage. I mean, that's just as bad as it gets. Their defense is Swiss cheese now. I mean, Deron Bland had that record last year, most pick sixes, but other than that, I mean, people just went right past him. He's not an overall great quarterback, and now suddenly he's not getting the pick sixes. I mean, if you look down the list, it's not looking good for them. Just a bunch of guys. Their defense isn't half as good as people thought they were. And that is not good because their offense is also pretty anemic. I'm sorry. You have CeeDee Lamb, who is incredible, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Then after that, you get a bunch of plumbers, in my opinion. And it's not looking great. Ferguson has been hurt for them. They had a lot of high expectations. That's not who I'd want my number two to be. He's like the de facto number two, and he's been hurt. So it's not looking great for the Cowboys. It's not looking great for the Ravens either, but taking a look at this line here, it is Baltimore -1. You're essentially getting a pick 'em. I guess I'm going to go with the Ravens. They're so desperate. They cannot afford to lose this game. The Cowboys kind of can't either, but I kind of just think that the Cowboys at some point are going to fall apart. They waited to the last possible second to pay Dak Prescott, thinking it's going to be some sort of like Royal Rumble thing. He's going to come out last in the Royal Rumble, and it's going to be fired up. It's like, no, dude, this contract negotiation probably ruined their entire offseason, the entire flow. Doing this signing in the middle of the season is such a garbage thing to do. And same thing with CeeDee Lamb. Their whole vibes around the Cowboys is awful. It's always terrible. It seems even worse this year.
I mean, everything you said was absolutely what I've been thinking. Absolute gospel. I mean, that was one of the best breakdowns I think I've ever heard from you. That was fantastic, Spencer. This is the Fraud Bowl. Okay, this is a tale of two teams that are supposed to be good, but are absolutely fraudulent from top down. From the general manager, from the owner down. They are complete and absolute frauds. Let's start with the Ravens. Why are we running Lamar out of the shotgun? Why did you bring Derrick Henry in here? Derrick Henry is absolutely useless. If the Ravens aren't up by 10, just send Derrick Henry to the locker room. I mean, you're conflicting two different styles of football within your own team. You're battling yourselves, not the other team. That's first and foremost. So you got yourself a real problem there. Harbaugh has just been horrible this season. Horrendous. And you know my take on Lamar Jackson. The guy's not a winner. Lamar Jackson is Mike Trout. He's Mike Trout. That's it. He's great, but he'll never win you anything of substance. That's Lamar Jackson. On the other side, you have the fraudulent Cowboys, who people and their fans always seem to think that this team is so good. The Cowboys have done absolutely nothing in decades. Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, Jay Novacek. It's been forever. Your child is grown and in college. That's how long it's been. They have done nothing. The way Jerry Jones does business for this ball club is it's egregious. And they're never going to win anything till he's dead. Dak is good, but he can't do it by himself. Anything happens to CeeDee Lamb, fold up the tent. Brandon Cooks is trash. Tolbert is meh. Ferguson is hurt. Zeke is old. Dowdle's never had a full complement of touches. And Dalvin Cook is a practice squad player. Anything happens to Micah Parsons or CeeDee Lamb, this is a 3-win football team. Now, you mean to tell me that they're going to find a way to win this game at home when they have just looked absolutely disgusting for the last, I'd say, calendar year, when they're not playing tomato cans like the Washington Commanders and the New York Football Giants in their building? Dude, the desperate team here is the Baltimore Ravens. And this is the type of game where, like Lamar, it's set up for you to shut me up. It is absolutely set up for you to go out and have a generational performance that forces me to stitch my mouth closed. This is it. And so it's a pick 'em. I trust the Ravens more than I trust the Cowboys, even despite the Cowboys having a win and the Ravens don't. But the Ravens are the more desperate team, man. And in my mind, they're the better team. Let's not forget what people were saying about the Ravens last year going into the AFC Championship game, Spencer. Where's that team? The Chiefs started it, and it hasn't ended. It hasn't ended. They doubled down on it opening day, and it just hasn't ended. I think this is where the Ravens get right. It's only a point. Pick'em wins it. I'm going to throw my hat on with the MVP, the two-time MVP, even though I know he's a fraud, and pull and pray. Dak is equally as fraudulent. Dude, two losers. They're both gonna win. Even if someone wins, someone's gonna lose.
It's like the same team from opposite conferences.
These teams suck, dude. They mirror each other and are horrible. Next.
Yeah, this is the Hospital Bowl right here, man. It's the San Francisco 49ers at the Rams. Yikes. This is tough, man. Because Puka Nacua is out. Cooper Kupp is on his last legs. The 49ers, everyone's out for them too. I mean, this is tough, but if I have two injured teams, so I'm talking about just, it's almost, this two good offensive minds with two beat up rosters to no end. This is a really tough game to call, but I actually have to see it from the Rams before I ever have any other opinion on them. Now, I know the 49ers are 6.5-point favorites, and that seems like a lot, but no Debo. George Kittle's not going to suit up. No Cooper Kupp, no Puka Nacua. Christian McCaffrey obviously is out. Nick Bosa is questionable. This is like bottom barrel stuff here for both of these teams. Wow. I will say, all right, I think Brandon Ayuk is playing, and I think that's just enough. I think that's enough to just put him over the top. I mean, the Rams have literally no one, actually. Like they were down to, you got one player on the 49ers left, and you have no players on the other side.
McVay's going to suit up. They got nothing.
So
they got nothing.
I think that's just a recipe for disaster for them. I think they do need something to get that offensive going. And on the other side, with Shanahan, he'll just run the ball into the ground. He doesn't. If he's like, you know what, I don't have my passing stars, I'm going to run the ball 35 times in this game. Yep. And he's the best run coordinator of all time, in my opinion. Yep. So when I think about it from that perspective, I know 6.5 seems like a ton when you're in LA, but I think LA just ran out of gas. I mean, I think early in the season, they just fell apart physically. And I don't think they can recover. They're not good enough to recover from that. They're good. If everyone is there and all of them are playing, and you saw like a glimpse of it in week 1 with the Rams. Puka Nacua was like on fire. Cooper Kupp had like 15,000 targets, and then that was it. Like both of those got put on IR, and now the Rams season's over.
This is the type of game that sends Matthew Stafford into retirement early, because it's him and Kyron Williams and no one else. I mean, when you lose 35 targets, what are you going to do? I mean, Demarcus Robinson is a little bit better than a practice squad player. No one knows anything about this Jordan Whittington kid. Tutu Atwell is just a gadget player. I mean, they really don't have much. Their defense is suspect at best. They got their doors blown off last week within the first 5 minutes of the game. Now, I know that the Niners, they're equally banged up, but like they just got embarrassed at the hands of the Vikings. They can't afford to go 1-2 either. The Eagles, the Dallas, the Ravens and the Niners. These guys can't afford to lose this week. Those three teams on a teaser, man. I'm willing to lay that. I mean, desperation's a real thing. Jordan Mason has been very, very good. They have the best run scheme in the whole entire league. I mean, you paid a 36-year-old Trent Williams. I mean, he should have enough gas to at least help him push it across the finish line here. And Brandon Ayuk, you got $30 million. All the targets are yours. What are you going to do here? I mean, you absolutely robbed the 49ers. It's time to actually do something. Brock Purdy will do enough. Rams defense don't scare nobody. Scoop and score, pick six, fumble recovery, 6.5, 7 wins you. 7 wins you. And this is a division game where, like, the Rams literally, they have nothing. I mean, the cupboard is so bare. They are so hurt. Their line is hurt. Their stars are out. Don't be scared to lay this 6.5, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm laying it with confidence. I know the Niners are banged up, but like the Rams literally are like they're a D2 team right now at home at SoFi where they share the stadium. There'll be more Niners fans there than there will be Rams fans. Take the Niners with confidence, minus the 6.5. Next.
Let's jump over to the Sunday night game. This is going to be a great one because here's the reality of the situation for the Chiefs, who are 2-0. They have not looked good, period.
At all.
Patrick Mahomes hasn't looked good.
At all.
Their defense doesn't look great. A penalty won them the game last week.
Yep.
It literally placed the ball in a winning position for them, I guess. If that isn't called, that's it. They go down 1-2.
They lose the game.
So, I mean, I don't want to go too far into the call, but
It's the right call.
Yeah. I mean,
it's the right call. I'm not one to be real quick, not to cut you off. I got to get this out. I'm not one of these people that is, it's the right call, but it shouldn't have been made. In football, I want the right call made. I don't care when it happens. I don't care if it's 1 second left in the game, 10 minutes left in the game. I want the right call. This nonsense and malarkey about, it's the right call, but it shouldn't be thrown there. What are we doing here? Is this WWE or is this football? The right calls should determine the outcomes of games, and that was the right call. Does it suck? Yes. But what sucks just as bad is Cincinnati putting a rookie corner on the field in a game-saving situation. What sucks is making a penalty to lose the game. What sucks is Jamar Chase giving the Chiefs 15 yards. I can go on and on and on. So while the Chiefs have not looked good and probably deserve to lose that game, Cincinnati gave them the game. And I told you this last week, Spencer, the team that talks the most is the weakest team on the field. I digress.
Yeah, that was an interesting game last week. But let's jump over into an equally as interesting game, the Chiefs and Falcons. The Falcons started to catch on a little bit, and the emergence of Darnell Mooney was... I don't think it's going to be a rare sight because I think the guy is pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. And I think that they were a little nervous maybe to go to him in the beginning. And same thing, kind of like my same philosophy with the Raiders. Like, I feel like the idea that they were going to come out with a new quarterback, whole new just ideology when it comes to their offensive game plan, and for it was going to click automatically, that's just kind of nuts. But you saw what it could be against the Eagles, especially in that late game drive, or just in the second half in general, right? Darnell Mooney has a crazy 40-yard touchdown. Drake London finishes things off at the end of the game. You're going to see that so much more. And obviously, Bijan Robinson kind of went nuclear. I think the Chiefs are in trouble in this game, if I'm being honest. I feel like this is a game that they could easily lose. Now, I know they're favored by 3. The Falcons are at home. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say the Falcons win this game. If the Chiefs play like they have all season long, this is a Falcons win. And also, you have Isaiah Pacheco out, and I think they don't know what they're going to do at the running back position. They've signed 15 guys. They already have guys on the roster. I mean, it's kind of a crapshoot right now. And they don't feel to me like a team that can just figure it out and give touches to anybody. Like, they don't have that kind of foolproof of a running system, in my opinion. I think that they should have just committed to somebody this Steele kid, like maybe they just say, you know what, he's going to be our guy. But I know they signed 2 guys to the practice squad. They're like, well, Kareem Hunt's not playing this week. He may be activated next week. It's just kind of like all over the place for them. And I just don't, the vibes around the Kansas City Chiefs like are not great right now. Now, can they win every primetime game ever forever? Like it always seems like they do, but at the same time, I don't think they can have a 100% win rate on, Sunday Night Football. And this is not a good spot for them. I mean, I think the Falcons have a ton of momentum going into this game. I think you're going to see a lot more of them as like what you saw in the second half. And if they can do that, that's a good enough performance to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, especially if Bijan Robinson can get going. They control the ball more. If they win the time of possession battle, this is a recipe for a Falcons team to have a very good win at home. And last year they played great at home. And I think you could start seeing that again for them this year.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said, but I'm still going to take Kansas City. I'm going to take Kansas City for a couple of reasons here. Number one, the better quarterback on the field is Patrick Mahomes. I cannot believe in Kirk Cousins back-to-back weeks in primetime games. I just can't. I mean, I know he looked a little bit better on that last drive, but I can't do it. That's number one. Number two, do you guys really think that Travis Kelce is going to be this bad all season? The Chiefs are going to make it a point to feature Travis Kelce on Sunday night. Fire him up with confidence. They are going to get this guy the ball. The Chiefs weren't a running team to begin with. Yes, they're going to mix and match and do what they'll have to do. But in big spots, the Chiefs always throw the ball. So I don't see that as being a big loss. The Chiefs have the better defense in this game. Their front four is going to get after Kirk Cousins. I could see mistakes made. I could see the Chiefs capitalizing on this. The Chiefs know that they are easily a hair away from being 0-2. And they got the 2 wins that they needed to get. Wins are wins. But they know that the ceiling has to get a little bit, the bar has to go up. They cannot continue to play like this and win games. And this is a perfect example of if you blow this here, people are watching. People are now going to try to capitalize on how you play this game. And so I think that they're going to try to do some different things here than they normally do. I think they're going to open it up. I think there's no answer for Rashee Rice. AJ Terrell, I don't know. Rice is really, really good. And they haven't uncorked Worthy yet, man. They really haven't. I'm talking 50-yard bombs. This is what they have been practicing all off season long, talking about how they're going to feature it. They haven't done it. They haven't done it. And I think maybe they're waiting to just catch somebody sleeping. They have the personnel to do it. Yes, they're heavily injured, but they're just a better team, man. They're better coached. They have better pedigree. I understand what you're saying about the Falcons here, but until I see it consistently from the Atlanta Falcons, I can't take them. Home field advantage means absolutely nothing to Kansas City, man. They play better football on the road, and in big spots, on prime time, Mahomes is going to play his best football. He has not looked good to this point at all. And I think they clean it up here Sunday night. And I think they win and cover. I think they get the 7-point win. And I think they do it with defense this week.
Let's jump over to the doubleheader on Monday Night Football here. It's the Bills and Jaguars. This feels like literally the ultimate trap game of all time, right? You have the 2-0 Bills. They're supposed to come in and just dog walk the Jaguars. And you know what? I'll take the trap because I think the Jaguars are seriously a steaming pile of garbage.
Me too.
And I think Trevor Lawrence isn't that good. So while this does feel like the poster child game for the Bills just to put up a stinker, and the line even says like something is going on here. It's only -5. How are they not at least 6.5-point favorites, the Bills? They played so much better than the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're 0-2. So maybe this is like a little bit of the 0-2 juice, but this feels like the most juiceless football team ever. When I watch them play, I don't see anything from them. No passion, no nothing.
Trevor Lawrence is a bust.
They're just going out there like through the motions, and that's just how the Jaguars run their team. They've never had any sort of like aura, in my opinion. And they just don't. They look like they're just so below average. It's painful to watch them play. It's not fun to watch them play football. That's for sure. You just got a team that's just like there. I don't know. So now you got the Bills. They're at home. They should absolutely destroy them. I'm not going to put this on a teaser because, again, it does feel like the game where it's like, yeah, obviously they're going to go in, and then suddenly you look up and the Jaguars win by 3. But I'd be so shocked if that was the case. There's not really much to say. The Bills are a much better football team. The Jaguars are trending downwards. They look terrible. Trevor Lawrence doesn't look good. Give me the Bills with a insane level of confidence at -5.
Give me the Bills -5 as well. No Evan Ingram again. Brian Thomas has not been featured to be anything else but a long man. Christian Kirk has been on the side of a milk carton. I don't like what Doug Peterson is doing with this team at all. They're injured. Their confidence is less. I mean, like Tanks Bigsby is taking touches away from Etienne, and rightfully so. I mean, they're just not the type of team that can go into Orchard Park here and win at Highmark Stadium. I'm sorry. I don't think 5 is enough. The Bills look solid. They took Miami apart in Miami in prime time. Josh Allen's an absolute terminator. I was wrong about the Bills. I thought they'd be struggling right now, but the truth of the matter is they took a page out of the Chiefs' playbook. Losing Diggs, losing Tyreek. We'll just get 3 guys. And we'll get the production from 3 guys that we needed for 1 guy. And that's what they're doing. And the truth of the matter is they haven't even allowed Dalton Kincaid to be featured yet. You know, once you really start putting the ball in the hands of Dalton Kincaid, they're going to be destroying fools. Bills are going back to the playoffs. They always play tough at home. Jags are trash. This is one of my best bets this week. Throw this on a teaser for sure, guys. Bills are going to steamroll this team. Jacksonville is, I don't know. They just don't do it for me, man. At all. Trevor Lawrence getting paid is absolutely egregious. Get them out of here. Bills -5 with confidence.
All right, let's finish this out. One last game of the week, and that is the Bengals, who are visiting the Commanders visiting the Cincinnati Bengals. Excuse me. This is I don't know what the line is, and I have to look. There's no way that the Bengals don't absolutely just mollywop them. Yeah, the Bengals are -7, and they are. Washington's not a good football team. The Bengals are at home. You know, they should have won last week easily. That should have been an easy chalked up win against the Chiefs. And the Commanders just look, I mean, I know they beat the Giants last week, but the Giants are like the worst team in the NFL. They're in the bottom 3, and the Commanders aren't far above them. And I think when you have those 2 things together, I don't know if T. Higgins is going to play in this game necessarily, but I don't think it's
trending.
Matters. I think the Bengals are going to go nuclear in this one. I like the over in this game, and I think that 30 points could be scored by the Bengals alone. Yeah, like, I think it's going to be that bad. So the Bengals have to win this. They know that. The Commanders aren't good. When I combine those 2 things together with the fact that the Bengals are at home, this should be like a terrible Monday night game. Like, plain and simple.
It's not going to be good. The Bengals should roll here. They're a desperate team at home versus a team with a rookie quarterback that has trouble scoring outside of kicking field goals. If the Bengals had any discipline, they could be 2-0, but they don't. Head coach has got no discipline. There's no accountability. They're just a team filled with stars. T. Higgins is going to leave. Hendrickson's going to leave. So these guys are playing well. They want to get their money elsewhere. And that's what this is going to be. Jaden Daniels is over his head in this game. I know it's his first Monday night game, but look, Joe Burrow is still him. I really still believe in Joe Burrow. I know he's been injured. I think Jamar Chase is still him. And you're going to just see it here. They've just run into teams with decent defenses, and they've made boneheaded plays. Guys, the difference between winning and losing in the National Football League is so small that it's inconceivable. And when you make stupid calls or you do stupid things that give yards to the other team, it can cost you. And that's who the Cincinnati Bengals are. Guys, just shut up and play football. You would go to the playoffs if you just did that. But they don't. But I think this is a get-right spot for them. The Commanders are absolutely horrendous, especially on the road, and I see them having no problem covering this 7th. This should be an absolute blowout, 31-10 final. That's the slate, guys. World of Matches bringing the heat every Saturday for you. We appreciate the likes. We appreciate the subs. Appreciate the shares. You got any parting shots, Spencer?
Yeah, just really quickly, I will showcase my my teaser bet here. It's Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a pick'em. I think that is a good spot for them against the Broncos. We've talked about these other 2 games. It's a combination of our 2 best bets here. And I'm putting them on the teaser. So the Raiders +1 against the Panthers, and I'm getting 2 points with the Seattle Seahawks against a Skylar Thompson-led Dolphins. I feel very good about that.
And then you turn around and you roll all your winnings on Monday night. Take the Bills, take the Bengals, and dude, you're putting a down payment on your new home on Tuesday. World of Matches brings the heat every week, man. We thank you guys for the likes. We appreciate all you guys do for us, giving us a listen. We don't profess to know everything. We're having some fun with this, and I think this is going to be a better week for us both. Until next week, Spencer, enjoy the games, and we are outie.
See you guys.
See ya.